we make mistakes, and mistakes are a part of the journey. But I don't like mistakes.
Yeah.
No one likes mistakes. No one likes mistakes, but they give us fuel to move us forward.
Well, welcome to the True Man Podcast. Time. How many times have you said to yourself, I wish I had more time? Or there's never enough time? Or how about, where did the time go? Now, I know as an entrepreneur, keeping my eye on what I'm doing from a planning perspective is critically important to getting things done and being attentive to my clients. So, how about we do a better job of managing our time and being productive? Let's find out if today's guest can help us out. I bet he can. Welcome to the True Man Podcast, Les Watson. Les is known as the Time Lord. How about that? And he's an expert in the area of time management and productivity. He's the author of the book, Get Back an Hour in Every Day. Les, welcome to the True Man Podcast.
It's great to be here, Mike, and really looking forward to this conversation. One of my favorite topics of all time.
Well, yeah. I hope I can learn a thing or two, because sometimes I question my own time management practices. So Les, tell everybody, how did this happen? How do you become a time management expert?
Great question. Back in the early 80s, I did a personal development seminar. And at the end of that, they said, oh, you should do this time management seminar. And I went, okay. And it was 2.5 days. And I forked out my money, and the actual 2.5 days changed my life. The gentleman that ran it, he wrote the other book on time management called Getting Things Done, or the GTD methodology. His name is David Allen, and he's worldwide and very well esteemed in the category of time management. And I learned so much. It really took me from a person that was, they called me Drifting Dennis. That's how bad I was. From Drifting Dennis to someone that was on purpose, from someone that didn't know what they were doing to someone who had goals, from getting nothing done to getting everything done.
Yeah.
And it was just a real basis, a real foundation of a change in my world. So the personal development gave me awareness, and then this gave me tools to actually put it into a structure and then go from there. And I worked for that company for over 10 years eventually, because I struggled to get in, and once I got in, they couldn't get rid of me, and created some really good results. I started my own company and did sales, customer service, leadership, communication, team building, and then slotted into time management and productivity, because it was just one of the things that people saying, how can you get so much done? Why are you so productive? Tell me more about that. And I was able to create it not only here in Australia, but do it throughout the world.
Yeah. So, if you're listening to Les right now, he's not from Georgia, where I'm at. He's got that beautiful Aussie accent. So there you go.
Yes.
Les, so that's really interesting. I mean, I really do think time management and productivity, it's everything. I know it is for me, and but like a lot of entrepreneurs, there's a lot of things I'm juggling right now. What advice would you give? And I'm going to say me, because it's my show, so sometimes I get to ask a selfish question. What advice would you give an entrepreneur who's got a lot of balls in the air? And you know this too, because you're an entrepreneur, right? It's got a lot of balls in the air. What's a number one time management thing that you would say to an entrepreneur about managing their time?
There's about 5, but let's start with the basis of where I start all of my trainings, and that is, how much is going on in your head? How much have you got going on? How many things do you have trickle in?
Please do not make me answer that question.
Yeah. So it's a lot. So I talk about these things that David told me, and that was incompletions. As an entrepreneur, as a man, what happens is we have an idea and sometimes we don't even start it. And that sits in our shoulder and says, what about me? What about me? What about me? Things we start and don't continue. And they go, oh, are you going to do something about that? Are you going to do something about that? Are you going to do something about that? Some things we continue and never finish, and they just sit there and go, hello, what about me? And then there's some things that we finish and they sit there and you immediately move on to the next thing and you never actually acknowledge it. There's a part inside going, excuse me, do I get any acknowledgement for that? Do I get a pat on the back? Do I get a gold star? Do I get at least take me to lunch? Can you buy me that trinket? Like those sorts of things. But no, we get on the hamster wheel or the treadmill of start, continue, finish, start, continue, finish, start, continue, finish. And part of us is very tired of that, very tired indeed. So I invite people to get all of those incompletions out of their head down onto paper. And I do say onto paper rather than ticky-tacky keyboard on your laptop, on your computer. It's not about that. I need to consciously write it out, because in the process of writing it out, things will also drop in. All right, so that's number one. Get it out of your head, down on paper. You've got two parts of this. You've got a work side and you've got a home side. And as you get it out, you're focusing on work, and maybe something from the home drops in, just write it down. Doesn't matter. You're emptying your brain out of here down onto paper so you get it all out. Now, that takes about 20 minutes, and I have a link. Maybe I can give you that and you can put it in the show notes where people
absolutely
do that for themselves, and I can walk them through it, and they can pause it, take the time, and then start it and do it on each word. Don't write down the word, write down what it triggers inside of you that is incomplete. And once you've done that, you've got it all out onto paper. I ask the people, I say, how are you feeling? And they go, like crap. And I said, what? They said, yeah, I was fine when I walked in here, but now I'm overwhelmed and it's all your fault. I said, wait. Hold on a sec. All I did was drain the swamp. All I did was bring it to mind, and you then took everything and dumped it out. They were already there. I didn't invent any of them. However, I won't leave you there. So that's number one. And others go, that's awesome. I now know exactly what I need to do. I now need to do this, and they feel really energized. But for those that feel stuck, it's a matter of, what do you do with those things? You delete some, because Mike, it's been on the list, mate, for 12 years. It's time to let it go. No, it's my favorite thing. You haven't done it in 12 years. So
now let me ask you real quick.
Yeah.
When you're talking about writing down, I'm going to assume he's drinking coffee. I moved on to water. It's a time difference. You got to love it. So, are you a big advocate for journaling? You're saying writing it down. Is that how you advocate going about this, is really journaling your thoughts down on paper?
You're opening up a big can of worms here. Very big can of worms. Okay. So do I advocate journaling? Yes, I do. Now, you're a man of faith. I'm a man of faith. I had a time in my life where God woke me up at 4 a.m. Now, how did I know it was God? Because no one gets up at 4 a.m. of their own volition. So that's number one.
It's true. Yeah.
So when my eyes popped open, I went, okay, what do I do now? And it was a matter of go and pray, or go and journal, or go and read the Bible. So I got in and I went, well, what do I do now? And the first thing that God had me do was journal. Because I needed to do a similar process of emptying yesterday out of my head down onto paper, and get rid of those things that are going today, all those sorts of things. So I got it out of my head down onto paper, and with that clear vessel, I was then able to go into His Word and read His Word with a clear mind of, now I can focus on the Word, and from there I was then able to pray. So as far as journaling is concerned, highly recommend. Now, Mike and I are of faith, okay? And for those that aren't of faith, it's okay too. Journaling clears your mind and gets it out.
Yeah.
You're able to be a better vessel.
Absolutely. The minute you said writing down, that was the first thing that popped into my head. So I just had to ask out of curiosity.
That's good.
I'm with you 100%. I love journaling and being able to get things down on paper.
Nice. So we've got the deletions. Then you've got 2 minute. If it's going to take 2 minutes or less, just do it. Just get it handled. So you've got 2 minute jobs. You've got single action items, which are longer than 2 minutes and not a project. And projects have more than one action. Like people go to the garage and they open the, just going to handle things in the garage, and they open the door and they go, yeah, nah, and close the door again. Why? Because they think that it's one thing, but it's not. It's 400 things, and it becomes overwhelming. So you've got single actions and projects, and then one other thing, which is someday maybes or someday I'd like to come over and visit Atlanta, Georgia. I'd like to go to the US Open. I'd like to have an NFL game. I'd like to do a baseball. I'd like to go to Japan. I'd like to go to Egypt. Is that today? No. Is it this month? No. Is it this year? Probably not. So I'm going to put it on a separate list. And once it's there, I'll review it every year and go, is this the year that I go and see Mike Van Pelt and go to Atlanta, Georgia? And if it is, I then slot it in and make plans.
Come on by. We can get you to a Braves game. I don't think there's a US Open on the agenda. I have been to the US Open, Les, and they are tons of fun.
Yeah, no doubt.
Oh wait, you're talking tennis, aren't you?
Hey, I'm into anything. So yes, tennis would be it. The US Open is normally tennis, and happy to go to a Braves game.
My mind always goes to golf, and after I said it, I was like, yeah, he's probably a big Stan Smith guy, so I better flip it over to
Cam Smith. Yes, just watched the current one, so that was lots of fun, and I've done some work here in Australia with the Professional Golfing Association here in Australia, so I'm conversant of being on 18 holes, definitely.
There you go. So far, Les, you've saved me about you. I don't know. I'm just, maybe I've added 10 minutes to my day, which is awesome. So we got to keep going through here. This is great. I'm picking up time.
Good. So once you get it out of your head down onto paper and you've categorized them, the question would be, where does that live? Because it doesn't just live in it just doesn't sit on a piece of paper. Sorry, it doesn't sit on a piece of paper. It's got to live somewhere. And I call that the trusted system. So where do you have a system that you trust, that once you get out of your head down onto paper, that it will get done, that you trust it will get done? And I don't mind if it's paper or app, it doesn't matter. But do you have somewhere as a trusted system? Now, I have one that happens to be a planner. This is those that are watching can see that it's a Filofax planner, and those that are listening, it's a Filofax planner. And it's a fixed 6-ring binder, and I can move pages in and move pages out. And it has 2 sections to it. One is a calendar section and one is areas of responsibility. Now, the calendar section, I've been able to ditch my full public calendar onto an app, which works a treat, but my day-to-day is still on paper. Why? Because I know that I don't need to open a phone. I just need to go like that. I just need to look to my left, and there's my to-do list, there's my calendar, there's the tasks I need to do, and also make notes from the day. So that works for me. And then the areas of responsibility are those things that, what I call, what pies do you have fingers in? What leadership do you have? What meetings
it's kind
do you
of a
go
personal question, don't you think?
So it's that thing of, if you're going to go to a meeting, I don't need anything else than this, and I take notes in this, and the next meeting it'll be in this. So I don't need to wonder where the notes are. They're in this. I have people say to me, "Oh, it's around here somewhere, Les. It's on the back of an envelope." No. It was a napkin. No. A post-it. No. A journal. No. So I'm sorry, Les, I don't know where it is. Whereas you ask me, and I know exactly where it is. It will be in my trusted system. So Mike, I know I didn't ask you the previous question, but I am going to ask you this question. what's your preferred trusted system, Mike Van Pelt?
Yeah, well, it's interesting, so you said, and I actually have a couple of them. So, I mean, again, you can't see this if you're listening to the podcast, but I've got a little binder system that I use as a planner, so I can write things down. I don't use it as faithfully as I do. Am very dependent on my online calendaring system because it does help me in terms of scheduling. I do everything. I take what's on my digital schedule and then put it on paper. But the digital scheduling is pretty important because take, for example, podcasts like this. You and I are able to communicate via email and set up our schedules and have the links and all that stuff. So, and then the other thing that I have is I've got a little notebook here. And so every time I'm on a networking call or I'm having a conversation, I try to, make my notes in this book so I know where they are. Now, it's when I write things down on loose pieces of paper that are sitting on my desk where I get in big time trouble. And that happens a lot. In fact, I'm just glancing around my office here and I'm glad you're not here. How about that? There's too many loose pieces of paper laying around.
And what it does is it enables you to, once you get it out of your head down into a trusted system, you get it done. And
Yeah.
for me, if I was to coach, I'd go, is the current system working probably less than what you'd like? So therefore, utilize the trusted system, whatever it is for you. So it doesn't matter if it's app-based or paper-based, and I'll get to the apps in a minute. But it's two things: leadership and discipline. Leadership and discipline. Leadership and discipline.
Yeah.
So we all want to be the leader, and we all should be the leader because no one's going to do it for us. We need to lead our life. So that's number one. And then in that, make decisions. So it's being a leader, but be disciplined in doing it again and again and again, not just once, not just twice. Someone once said, what's it take to make or break a habit? Is it 14 days, 21 days, a month? It actually turned out to be 66 days. Why? Because where's the research? And there was no research. When they did it, it went from 15 days to 250, and the average was 66 days to make or break a habit. So you've got to have a crack, as we say in Australia, have a go, have a crack, give it a shot, and do so for more than a week, more than a month. It actually takes 2 months.
Now, here's a question for you. So, this is a common thing that happens to me. So I got my planner over here. I've got my digital calendar, but like a lot of people, the fires start burning very early in the day, it seems like. And the next thing you know, you're in crisis mode. And I think we all go through this. How do you manage that when all of a sudden you find yourselves, okay, here's my calendar, and now all of a sudden I'm putting out fires, and it feels like more days than not, you had a plan, and now it just feels like it's spun out of control. And then, so how do you manage those fires?
No, it's great. It's great. Covey jumped on the back of Eisenhower, and Eisenhower decided it was going to be the Eisenhower matrix of important versus urgent. And you've got important and urgent, and they're the fires you need to handle straight away. So that's quadrant 1. And quadrant 4 is the opposite. It's not important and not urgent, and you need to stop doing that. It's the games on the computer, and it's the emptying, like all of those things that are just trivial. You get rid of those and stop doing them. So they're both the ends of the spectrum. Then you've got quadrant 3, which is important and not urgent, which is those things that drop into you that aren't yours. So they're going, hey, actually, I put it the wrong way. So urgent but not important. And they're the ones that drop in from somebody else. And you need to either have a boundary, and I'll talk about boundaries in a minute, or just delegate them off. But the place to live is the important, not urgent, which is the area that is to do with planning. Because the more you do the planning, the more that stops fires happening and the urgent happening and the people dropping in going, ah. So based on that,
Right.
how can you do more in quadrant 2? And it's to do with planning. Now, there are times when things will happen and there are boundaries that you need to have. So how good are your boundaries? For example, I was wondering if you've got 5 minutes. And people go, yeah, I've got 5
Oh
minutes.
man,
And they
yeah.
know that it's 15, 20, half an hour. And based on that, let's not do that. Let's have a boundary to say, what have you got? I've got this thing. Great. I want to talk about that. Let's do that this afternoon at 3 o'clock, because right now I'm focused on something I need to get off my plate that's quite important. So therefore, let's pick that one up at 3 o'clock. Now they could go, no, I need something to do right now. So they may go to somebody else, or they may show you that theirs trumps yours. And you go, okay, yeah, I get that. Let's handle that and put mine to the back burner. But a boundary is one of those things. A lot of people don't have boundaries. They don't have personal boundaries. They can't say no, Mike.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. This is wow, maybe we need to talk about this a little bit, because I have found I have a hard time saying no. Now, I'm cognizant of it now and I'm getting better at it, but when you don't say no, boy do I know this. It can eat your day up really, really quickly.
Yep.
So, how do we determine what's a no and what's a yes sometimes?
That's a good, great question. It lines up with what you're aiming to achieve. So I have a leadership model that is loosely described for me as the vision, purpose, data model. And you're starting with, what's your purpose? So what's your purpose? What's your purpose? What's your purpose? Now, so I did a seminar at one point, and the person said, oh, you need to come up with your purpose. And I've gone, yeah, that's not gonna happen right now. I need time on that one. I grabbed my wife and we went off to have breakfast, and I said, ask me the question. She said, what's your purpose? I said, to do this. She said, and why is that your purpose? And why do you do that? And why do you do that? And I came to a bottom line, and she said, and why do you do that? And I said, well, to bring life. And she said, sounds like your purpose to me. And I've gone, you're kidding me. So I was at that stage 50, and I've waited 50 years to find out my purpose, and now I know it changed my life. It's another pivotal point in my life that really put a different spin on what I was doing. So mine is to bring life, others to bring clarity, others to bring hope. So what is it for the individual? What is it for you? Do you, again, pointed question to Mike Van Pelt. Mike?
Yeah, who's
have a purpose
interviewing
of-
who here? Come on. Well, I commonly say, one of the things that brings me life, obviously we're doing the True Man podcast. I've got True Man Life coaching is really to impact the life of men for good, because I know if we make an impact on the men, we can make an impact on their families. And when you make an impact on families, you impact a church, you impact schools, you impact our government, our culture. So it brings me life to know that, hey, I've got an opportunity to impact, men for good. And this is I will say this is a really interesting conversation, because we come into this talking about time management, and now we've circled back to purpose. And if you don't know your purpose, you're not going to do very well on your time. So thanks for bringing that to light. I didn't see it going that way, but it makes a lot of sense.
And then from your purpose, where do you see that? Because the good book says, without a vision, the people perish. So what's your vision? Where do you see yourself? Where do you see the True Man podcast? Where do you see True Man coaching? Where do you see that? So you've got to cast a vision forward to understand what that would look like in a year, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years.
Yeah.
And therefore move towards that. So how do you move towards that? You set up goals. What are the goals for 1 year, 3 year, 5 years, 10 years? Therefore, if it's 1 year, what is that in 6 months? What is that in this quarter? What is that in this month? What is that this week? And therefore, what is that today? and you're able to chunk
Yep.
things down from the very large down to, well, I can do something today to move that forward to actually be in alignment with my purpose.
Now, in fact, one of the things that we're working on right now, and of course, I have a coach. Every coach should have a coach, by the way, but I have a coach, and one of the things we're working on right now is we started with a 90-day rolling average, but we went to 120 because of just some things that are on my calendar, and those are my short-term things that we're working on. And it's a lot of intense stuff right now. There's a lot on my plate, but we're even thinking, where does this thing going down the road? And quite honestly, as innocently as the podcast started, and the next thing you know, I'm writing books and speaking. And where do we see True Man? I'm just calling my shot here on the podcast. I don't think I've ever said this on the podcast, but really, a media education company is where I see this all headed for me, because we want to be able to reach men and educate them on a wide range of topics, not the least of which here, it's interesting. We've done 100 some podcasts. Have I ever talked about time management the way that, that I'm talking about it today? No, it's one of the reasons why I was excited to have you on, because, the goal here of the podcast is to help men, better dads, and better fathers. And we've all, I hear people talk about time all the time, right? And so that seemed like a funny thing to say. But and we all struggle with this. And so as I guess media education company, I'll say, I want to make sure that we're bringing topics to men to help them be better men. The reality is the topics you and I are talking about will help anybody, but presumably my audience is for men. So
no, it's great. And it is for anyone. And when we get to the end, wherever that might be, I've got I've got a gift for those that are listening, and it's a simple 25 tips for busy people, but it is a culmination of a whole stack of things that you can look at and go, I'm going to implement this. So that's a gift we'll do at the end.
Awesome.
We were doing purpose, we were doing vision, doing goals, and how do you maintain where you're at? The boundaries enable to look at your goals and say, if I don't get this done, that's not going to work. So therefore, I have a choice. I can stay on the path or I can be interrupted. So therefore, your boundaries enable you to go, this is really important over what's been a distraction, a interruption, those sorts of things. And there are certain things you can put into your life to minimize your distractions. One of them, I was working with an executive one day and I said, what was that? He said, oh, an email came in. I said, but it went off on your computer and your phone. He said, yeah, just in case. And I went, okay, here's what I want you to do. Turn your notifications off. He went, beg your pardon? I said, turn your notifications off. I want them off audibly so you can't hear them, and also I want them off visually so you can't see them. And then I said, and try this. If you're working on a project, close your email client down. He said, I beg your pardon? I said, yeah, try closing your email down while you focus on the task at hand. And he went, I've never done that before. And I said, yeah, and look at where you're at. So he changed it and things really shifted for him. So the other one in amongst that is to put an addendum to your signature in your email that says, best regards, Les. And then at the bottom it says, P.S. I only check my emails 3 or 4 times a day. If it's urgent, please reach out to me on my cell, on my mobile, or if you're in the office, come around and see me. Now, what that did was give a communication to the people that he was interacting with called, oh, I'm not expecting an email straight back. And someone in his office came over to him and said, I love what you did with your email. I'm going to do that as well. And that's a boundary, because a lot of people get run by the email, which is another topic we can talk about, run by their email and have an expectation. Well, hello, you didn't respond to my email. It's been 30 seconds. Give me a break.
Well, texting's even worse, but yeah, no, let's touch on this because uh, technology, let's approach it like this. Technology really can hold us hostage. And now, personally, I turned all my email alarms off. If I get an email, I would have to physically go to my email and look at it. I don't get alerts on my email, on my phone or on my computer. Now I do get the text messages, and phone, but it's these are boundaries that I've had to put in place because otherwise, every time that ding goes off, you go look at something. But technology, I don't think personally is, unless somebody's very disciplined, is increasing our time. It seems to be taking advantage of it because we can't put, especially these crazy smartphones. Their time sucks because they just are.
And it's an opportunity to be aware. A lot of the stuff that I do in my coaching is, are you aware of what works? Are you aware of what doesn't work? And based on those two, are you willing to do something different to create a different result in your life? Because a lot of people are not aware of what's not working. So having the opportunity to be in a group coaching session, I do one-to-one and group. So in a group coaching session, they're listening to other people going, oh, I didn't even realize that was available. I didn't even realize, I had no idea. I'm going to now, thanks for bringing that to my awareness. And the whole thing around awareness, I invite people to, at the end of the day, I go, these 3 questions, similar to what I just said. What worked today? What didn't work today? And what can I do different tomorrow to create a different result? And you can do it at the end of the week. I have a thing called a weekly review. And I have a dashboard. It's a specific dashboard that gives me my own KPIs for my own small business. And you don't need it. You can stick with personally what worked, what didn't work, what can I do differently. And if you're in a small team, you can do a stand up and you say, okay, team, what worked this week? And go around and get everyone to contribute. Okay, what didn't work? And allow the honesty to fall in front of everybody to go, yep, you're right, that didn't work. And what can we do differently going forward to create a better result?
Now, hey, I don't know if I'm going to throw you a curveball or not, but let's see. So we do this in our business, and we tend to separate sometimes our business from our family life. Wouldn't it be, what would it look like, I guess, or do you talk about this, applying what you're talking about there and going back to our family life and saying, hey, family, what worked this week? What didn't work? How can we improve as a family? How would that improve family life?
It's a great point, because a lot of people have said to me in the sessions that I've run over the years, oh, I wish I could have my husband or my wife here and have them experience this, because they're not going to listen to me. And I go, well, maybe they will and maybe they won't, but you don't know until you give it a shot. So the weekly review, personally, my weekly review happens on a Saturday morning. And on a Saturday morning, I'm able to take my wife out of my home, out of my office, and to a coffee shop. And I take my planner with me, and she'll take her diary with her. And the first thing we do is look at the week that's been. And I'll go through my week and go, here's what happened, and what it does is it brings to mind anything that may have fallen between the cracks. So it enables me to look at that. And I'll do the same with her. What happened in your week? So we talk about that. And then we say, okay, what have we got coming up in the next week? So we look at the week that's coming up. And for some of us, it's a week, a fortnight, a month, based on the things that are happening. And then you expand it into, okay, so in the areas of life, and I've got a wheel of life, and in the wheel of life, you've got the different areas. I go, how are we doing in family? How are we doing with the kids? Is that working? Not how? And we go through each of the kids. There's only 2 of them. It's okay. So That one, how are we doing with health? How are we doing with finances? How are we doing with spiritual? So it's an opportunity to check in
Right.
on a personal level with, if you're single, nothing wrong with that. If you're single, you can do it yourself, but you need to take the time and journal it and actually ask the question and write the answer. Be honest with yourself, write the answer. And if it's with a partner, if it's with a spouse, then ask the question. Well, they won't go for it, Les. Well, you don't know because you're not there yet. Just say, I was listening to a podcast with Mike and Les, and they suggest we do this. Can we give it a crack? Can we give it a shot? Can we have a go at it and see what happens? And don't think that it has to be sitting down at a table with nothing on the table. It can be over a cuppa, it can be over a meal, and it can be on a walk. You can walk and talk, because
Yeah.
a lot of blokes don't like to sit, but you get them doing something and they'll talk. Why? Because their hands are busy or their feet are busy. And we've got a thing down here in Victoria, Australia, where it's a man walk, and they get together and they walk and they talk. Why? Because it works for men to do something while they talk.
Yeah, it's really true. And I appreciate your answer. You know, in our house, I was sitting there thinking as you were saying that, I'm like, yeah, we need to change that to Saturday morning. We commonly are grabbing our calendars on Sunday night and going through everything. And that seems kind of silly because before you know it, we're all stressed out. And then you don't sleep well and you get up on Monday morning and everything starts over again. So maybe we need to switch it up in our house.
Yeah, and personally, yes, and professionally, some people, as they finish their week, need to do it on a Friday morning or a Friday afternoon. Why?
Yeah.
Because you need to round some things out and go, that week is now done. I'm closing the book on the week. Oh, by the way, thank you very much for that reminder. I now have actions that I can take into next week, or I've still got today to round that out so my week isn't a complete disaster. So you're able to capture it in the week and go, oh, I need to get that done today. So it's
Right.
not to say it's perfect by any means, but it is a reminder, an opportunity to grab those things on a Friday morning, Friday lunch, Friday afternoon. Try and do it before you leave your desk for the week.
Yeah, that would seem to make the most sense. I don't always get that done. Always get that done.
Now, I've got one more
But I
for
do
you.
think go ahead.
Um, again, you're a coach, I'm a coach. So how's, on a scale of 1 to 10, Mike, how's your, how are you in the area of procrastination? He's thinking,
Now this
he's
is
thinking, he's
yeah,
thinking.
this is a good one. I've improved quite a bit on that because I'm a big kind of I use a bunch of phrases, eat that frog now, do it now, get it done. I'd probably give myself about a 7.5 in that area.
Nice,
There's
very
room
nice.
for improvement.
And Brian Tracy had the book Eat the Frog,
Yeah.
and it's all about. He says, if you've got um, a choice, if you have to eat a frog, eat it first thing, and if you've got a choice of 2 frogs, eat the ugliest, biggest one first. And that comes down to, what are those things in your life that you don't want to do? I don't want to eat the frog. Yeah, but you know you have to do it. So don't put it off until
Yeah.
lunchtime or the afternoon. Eat the thing first up. Why? Because you get that sucker out of the road, and guess what? The rest of the day is fantastic. This is awesome. I'm
Yeah.
out of the road. I'm clear. I feel good. But rather than going, yeah, I'll get to that, and have it eat away at you all day, it's not good. It's like the puppy dog's tail. When they dock a puppy dog's tail, they don't dock it 1 inch at a time. They dock once. I'm not purporting that that's a good thing, but I'm just saying, for some people, when they dock once. And the same with life. Don't little bit by little bit by little bit by little bit and have the pain all the way through. Just do it once and get it over and done with, and it frees up all that energy to get on with. The reason I raised about procrastination is because Mel Robbins wrote a really good book called The 5-Second Rule, and she went
Yeah.
on to be a very big speaker. And it was all around how her life was a disaster. She wasn't getting out of bed. The kids were missing the bus. They weren't getting lunch. all those sorts of things, because she couldn't get out of bed. And she was watching television one day, and there was a rocket ship, and it went 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and the rocket blasted off. And she said, well, maybe I could use that in the morning to get myself out of bed.
Yeah.
Well, that's what it works. And the alarm went off, and she would normally roll over and hit it and snooze it. But she went, oh, remember that thing, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And she launched herself out of bed, and she went, no, it can't be that easy. And the next day she did it again and again and again. And it changed her life, because in the 5 seconds, she made a decision to do something. So if it's in alignment with your goals, if it's in your integrity, and you can do it now, and you can do it within 5 seconds, just do it. And a lot of people go, I'll do that later. I'll do that later. I'll do that later. Similar to email. I'll put that off. I'll put that off. No, if you can do it within 2 minutes, just do it. But the thing around procrastination, it's like, I'll put it down. Oh no, I'll just do it. And it's 5. Just do the thing. Just handle it. And it enables the individual to overcome that lack of inertia. So you're actually getting into action. It's like bang, and you're into it. So once you get on that roll of doing things, you start to get stuff done in your life.
Yeah, I commonly use the term action, and it's a choice. It's a choice. You're either in action or you're not. You're taking action or you're not. A lot of people choose not to take action, interestingly enough, or they're taking action on the wrong thing because they're not prioritizing, right? So it circles back to proper time management.
Well, prioritization, Mike. A lot of people ask me, it's like, I have difficulty prioritizing. And I go, prioritization is easy. It's A's and B's. A priority or a B priority. What is an A priority? I'm so glad you asked, Mike. Thank you very much. You're really helping me out here.
Yeah.
The A priority is, if it does not get done, the brown smelly stuff is going to hit the round twirly thing. And no one wants the shit to hit the fan. Given that, what would that look like? It's either, if it doesn't get done, you're going to lose a contract, you're going to lose money, you're going to lose reputation, you're going to lose, those sorts of things. So if that happens, then they must get done. They must get done today. Then do them, and do them early. So A's, do them early. What is a B? Anything that's not an A. Anything that you'd like to get done, but it doesn't have to get done today. So I say to people, don't put 40 things on your to-do list. Put 5 to 10 things that you know in the realm of possibility you could get done today. Therefore, get those done. And if you want to put more on after that, feel free. However, most people do so much, they go, oh, it's all too hard. Why even do a to-do list? Because you've got too much on your list. I do a data dump similar to what we talked about. Once you get the incompletions out of your head down on the paper, that sits on a separate list. And in sitting on a separate list, what it enables me to do is each day, as I finish my day, here's a key, plan each day the day before. So I'm able to look at my list and go, what's coming up, what appointments have we got, what tasks do I do, what do I need to do, and look at the incompletions and go, okay, is there anything on that I want to bring into today that I can bring in and actually get done? So the prioritization is a big one, A's and B's. A's have to get done and therefore do them early, and B's are nice to get done, and you can do them if, will some of the B's turn into A's tomorrow? Yes. Is that okay? Yes. Why? Of course, handle today, and handle tomorrow.
Yeah. I mean, the minute we're done recording this podcast, I am going to be turning to my left where my planner is and finishing out my day so that I'm better prepared to start the day tomorrow. And I'm getting better at that. And I've had to do that because it's just, my schedule is so packed anymore that if I don't finish my day off and have that awareness of what's going on tomorrow, I start out behind right away. So
planning each day the day before, it finish the day, last thing you do at your desk, and you can put it as a calendar entry that, I've got an appointment with myself to look at tomorrow. So actually put it in. Calendar entries are great. I put it in for lunch. You cannot book me for lunch. Why? Because it's for me so that I can refuel the engine. And so many people miss lunch, and I go, how's that working for you? How are your energy levels? Are you snarky? Are you upset? Are you grumbly? Those sorts of things. So I refuel the engine. So, and it's every day, 12 to 1. I give myself an hour so I can relax and reset and go again. So those sorts of things, planning each day the day before is a great one. Now we're heading towards the back end, but I've got a model I want to give you. Is there any pertinent questions you have for me before I launch into this model, Mike?
No, go ahead. Launch into the model and we'll finish strong here.
So the model I have is called the EASY model, and it has 3 keys: EA, which is external action, S for support, and Y for yes, which is internal focus. So EA is external action, and we've already talked about it. What action are you taking? So if you want to be productive, you need to do something. It's no use getting it out of your head down onto paper and not doing anything with that information. That's redundant. Why would you do that? You've got to actually put those things into a plan and get them done. What are some of the things that get in our road from taking action? Well, sometimes we've taken action in the past and had a bad experience, therefore you don't want to go anywhere near it, or you've had people chastise you or castigate you or just come down heavy on you, and therefore I don't want to take action because when I made a mistake, I got hurt. So those sorts of things, that are you the same person from back then right now? Are you the same person now as what you were back then? Because if you're not, then let go of the past and come into the now and have another go. Because if you always do what you've always done, you'll always have what you've always had. You've got to do new things to create new results. So part of that is action. What action? And be brave, be bold, get out there and do more and see. Because Mike, you, me, those that have business that are moving, we make mistakes, and mistakes are a part of the journey. But I don't like mistakes. Yeah. No one likes mistakes. No one likes mistakes, but they give us fuel to move us forward. So that's number 1, external action. Are you taking action to create in your life? Number 2, support. And Mike, you've got Christian brothers. I've got a connect group, a home group, and it's a thing of what support do you have in your life? For 2 factors. One is they could be already tapping you on the shoulder, asking, can I give you a hand? And you're pushing them away. So first question is, are you supportable? Because sometimes it's all about you, all about you, all about you, and no one can do it as good as me. Therefore, I've got to do it. I've got to finish it off, and no one can do it. So therefore, you're pushing the support away. That's number 1. And number 2 is, sometimes we need to let go of the ego and ask for support, because I've never known a self-made millionaire. They actually use a lot of people around them and ask for support. Can you give me a hand here? Can you give me a hand there? So support has 2 factors. Notice when you are pushing people away, those that want to help you, and ask for it. And there are barriers to support and asking for support. And again, that's half an hour's worth right there. So external action, support, easy, EAS. And the last one is Y, internal focus. Are you focused on the yes, or are you focused on the no? Is the glass half full or the glass half empty? So mine is overflowing, and someone said, and it's refillable. And I went, that's awesome. That's just awesome. So I will often say to people, put up 2 fingers, and in the 2 fingers that are straight up, as you clasp your hands and you've got 2 fingers up, your fingers should be between 3 or 4 centimeters or 6 inches apart, and you're saying, fingers come together, and you say it 10 times out loud and see what happens to your fingers. And when I do it in a classroom situation, I'll do it. Fingers come together, fingers come together, fingers come together. And I do it 10 times. And I say, how many had your fingers come together? And some people put their hand up. And how many of you had your fingers stay exactly where they were? And a whole lot of fingers go up. And I go, okay, was anything like this going on in your mind at the time? Fingers come together. There's no way this guy is going to make me move my fingers. Fingers come together. Stay where you are. Fingers come together. This is the most ridiculous exercise I've ever done in my life. So no matter what you were saying, like, If you were saying the positive, your fingers came together. If you were saying the negative was the result. They stayed where they were.
Yeah.
And we were all
Yeah.
saying the same thing. We were all saying fingers come together. But the difference was what we were saying in our head. So therefore, you want to be productive, then change what's going on in your head. You want better relationships, change what's going on in your head. You want better communication, change what's happening in your head. But you want better time management, change what's going on in your head. Like, I love Mondays as opposed to Mondays suck, or I hate reports. I love reports and I get them done easily. So those sorts of things. I'm always late for meetings. Well, good luck with that, because you're saying it to yourself. Therefore, that's what happens. These three keys put together, E, A, S, and Y, the external action, the support, and the internal focus of the S, put those three together and it will skyrocket your productivity. Why? Because just two on their own, not as effective. The external action and the support without the internal focus, you cut your own legs off by what you say to yourself. The internal focus and support without action, you're dreaming and you're not getting anything done. And the external action, the internal without support, you're not as effective because you're not open to the people that love you and want to help. So put the three together, it will skyrocket your productivity and make it easy. There you go, Mike.
Wow, just killer information on the podcast today. Incredible stuff, Les. I'm just thrilled you were on and shared all that information. How can people get a hold of you? We'll, of course, put all this information in the show notes, but how can people get a hold of you and learn more?
The easiest is the email, Les, it's LES, not LEZ, les@getmoretime.com.au. So it's Les, not less, and the Les. So just one S is fine. LES.
There you go.
So les@getmoretime.com.au. So put the AU on. So I'm in Australia. Funnily enough, I'm working with my web developer at the moment because my website's down. But by the time this hits and come up, my website will be back up. So the website is getmoretime.com.au. Our business is creating success coaching.com.au, creating success coaching. And the gift that I wanted to give you is 25 time tips for busy people. And that'll be in the show notes as well as the link to the incompletions trigger list. And we'll put that in as well. It's an audio link and you just hear me take you through. There are a couple of gifts. The 25 time tips really is that opportunity for people to grab a lot of the stuff we've talked about and print it out and go, yeah, I can do that. I can do that. It's not rocket science. It's not brain surgery. But if you apply them, that can give you back an hour a day.
Well, there you go. It's a lot of information, but outstanding. Les, thanks for being on the True Man podcast and helping the audience out today. I really appreciated having you on.
You're welcome, Mike. It's been a pleasure. It's we covered a lot of ground, and who knows, we might be able to do it again down the track.
Awesome. Take care.
Thanks very much. Bye-bye.